Let's go on over to South Africa's economy a little bit now. And South Africa's unemployment crisis continues to have the country in a chokehold. The economy continues to bleed jobs and workers continue to struggle to stay employed. And although data from Stats SA has shown some recovery in the jobs market, more still needs to be done. To reflect on the South African employment landscape in 2024, I'm joined by Labour analyst Patrick Deale. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us then here as well. One thing is for sure, South Africa's employment landscape has always been a difficult one to kind of wrap your head around because of just the high levels of unemployment, whether it be youth or the official statistics. And it just seems to get a lot more difficult with every passing year.
Good afternoon to you. And it certainly is. It's not a good year-end message to be able to be talking about now. But there have been massive job losses consistently throughout the year. And it is a sign of a stressed economy, an economy which in particular sectors like mining has come under real pressure. And they've found themselves as price takers particularly in the platinum section or sector, for example, where platinum prices are low and big organizations, big companies like Anglo Platinum, Impala Platinum and so on have had no option but to reduce cost, improve productivity in response to the low prices of platinum that are on the market available. So it's very distressing, and we're constantly seeing in various sectors job losses that are unfolding, and there is no end in sight. In fact, particularly in the mining section, there are even more possible retrenchments on the way at the beginning of the new year, which is cause for serious concern.
Is this because South Africa has not advanced with regards to the kind of workforce it has? Maybe, a difficulty with regards to the sectors we're trying to enter as well then as a country in order to continue to grow? Are we still stuck perhaps with some of the older labor that perhaps has changed as time goes by?
To some extent we are, particularly in the traditional sectors where, like mining, where we have been extracting the metals and exporting them for beneficiation. And it's long been said over the years that we should be not only extracting it, but beneficiating it to add the value and then to export. And that would expand the mining sector and the derivations of the mining sector enormously. But it's happened in some respects, but regrettably not. And in any event, when prices are determined elsewhere on a global exchange, there's nothing one can do about it except to respond to the prices. If the prices are high, then there's a feast, but when prices are low, there's a famine. And in other sectors, in manufacturing, for example, they've taken a bit of a hammering over the last year, and we have been bleeding jobs in that area, particularly due to cheaper imports from other countries like China, and the government has been trying to put measures in place to try and protect the market. But unfortunately, the labor cost structure in other countries like China is structurally much lower than it is in South Africa, and having to adapt to compete with them is very difficult. But I must say, insofar as the state is concerned, they have put measures in place as something of a social net to try and manage through this difficult time. There is a scheme which is called the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme, which is a derivation of the original TERS, which we had during COVID, which helped companies to get through COVID when they couldn't do business, and their employees were unable to get salaries, and the TERS system was helping them. It's now been adapted for retrenchments that are happening now, and there's a particular set of laws where employers can draw upon and make applications for TERS relief. And the funding comes from the unemployment fund, which still has quite a large sum of money available.
Yeah,
that is something that the state is intervening a lot in to try and assist.
Patrick, what about moving up the value chain? You speak about manufacturing. Are we still not perhaps at the bottom of that value chain as opposed to trying to move up, ensuring greater skills for a lot of our workers, meaning that they're a lot more advanced and we get to do a lot more, and productivity ultimately perhaps increases and we see gains?
Way behind the technological advances. We've seen in other countries that robotics and other forms of manufacturing are replacing workers. And more recently, obviously, the big thing is AI, which is replacing a lot of work functions, repetitive types of tasks. And we are lagging behind. And we do need to catch up on a lot of these tasks. And unfortunately, the irony is that if you don't have the base of skills to be able to transfer from your current skill set into the technological one, you don't have basic understandings of maths and logistics and thinking along those ways. It's difficult to learn the new skills to be adapt so that individuals can participate in the more technologically advanced forms of manufacturing and use of robots. So it is a problem, and we are far behind. We've got a long way to catch up. There are efforts being made, however, and there are many advances made, particularly in the automobile industry in this country, is actually pretty far ahead, where we are making cars on production lines with a lot of automation that is benefiting South Africa's economy greatly and being able to compete internationally, even though we have different structures in this country. So there are signs of progress in relation to technological advances, but we do need a lot more that needs to move us up, as you correctly say, up the value chain to make it more effective as an overall economy, and overall to uplift the skills of the labor market to be able to participate fully in them. So at the end, it's got to do with building a skilled labor force with different skills and new skills that can adapt quickly to changes. Changes happen, as we know, with cell phones. They get upgraded every 18 months. So does technology being graded every month. And the faster that technology evolves, the faster we need to run to keep up.
Sure.
So it is a race to keep up with the technology.
Patrick, very quickly, NDP goals effectively out the window. I mean, that feels like it's completely dead in the water. 2030 is around the corner. We're nowhere near reaching any of those goals. Is policy holding us back?
I'm afraid so. You know, the overall plan, if you look at it in detail, I mean, it's a good plan, but unfortunately, it hasn't been supported. It hasn't been focused enough to be able to concentrate on the areas in which developments can be made. There have been some successes. There have been some successes, notably in agriculture and in the motor industry, but there is a lot more that can be done. And as I say, there has been a lot of resistance to pushing the National Development Plan along, but not fast enough. The rest of the world is developing so much faster than we are. We need to generate a bit of speed or momentum into it to make it more successful. So there's a lot needs to be done, and it needs to be Plan A, and to focus the country on the National Development Plan and other ones like it, so that we can improve the productivity that you rightfully talk about, so that everything is focused on it.
Just let's just say you are part of the National Planning Commission here in creating a new National Development Plan, a new NDP, as it were. What's the first place you would focus on? What's the first sector you look towards for South Africa's growth?
Well, I mean, there are three sectors really that South Africa has been really known for, and that is in agriculture. Agricultural sector, I don't think, we often, don't appreciate how well the agriculture sector has grown in this country and how much, in fact, we export. So that area of agriculture opens vast opportunities to extend the agriculture, but also modern forms of agriculture, even things like farm factories, where you're not farming in open lands, for example. So that agriculture is a big area which can be focused on. But also tourism. Tourism is a huge part of South African, offerings. As we've got our natural resources, if we can exploit tourism more and get people more into the areas of, venues for people to visit and so on. And thirdly, there is a big opportunities actually in manufacturing, in producing goods and services, or manufacturing that produces particular items that are unique to South Africa and that can definitely compete more successfully than we presently are. We've been bedeviled by high steel prices. Local steel prices have been high. We've been importing our steel. And if we can try and adjust the mix of input costs that go into manufacturing, then we can industrialize. We keep talking about industrializing, rightly so, about South Africa's base. But it is something that could definitely, in a focused way, in focused sectors of the manufacturing industry and sector, bring us a lot of gains. And so it's a question of keeping focus and having objectives, yearly objectives, 2 yearly objectives and 5-year objectives to make it happen.